Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. On We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. My co-host is Dr. Eldridge Henderson, a man that needs no introduction, that's full of wisdom, and is a walking chronicle of African-American history. And this being Black History Month, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. But if you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to share this program with your friends and family. If you're watching us on Facebook, you share it as well with your friends and family. On YouTube, also subscribe. If you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, we want you to hit the donate button and assist us that way to keep these programs coming. We're expanding the program every day. Every day we're adding new modules to it to be able to bring you the kind of information and news in a timely manner like no one else can do. You know, it's critically important that we tell our own story, that we don't let news outlets that are owned by other people record our history and tell us what is real and what is not real today in our communities. That's how we got in the mess we're in now, where we don't know history. It's been distorted so much to a point to an African American does not know where he came from, therefore he does not know where he's going. And so here we want to make a difference, and we want to correct that. And so we've invested in a broadcast studio that brings you these kind of programs that have been banned from being taught in our public schools in the state of Mississippi and the state of Florida and others, where you can't even teach the critical race theory, or you can't teach African American history in those schools. And many of us wonder, why is that so important, that it be banned and not allowed to be taught? Well, we're going to get into that. We're going to deal somewhat with Black History Month and what it really means, and what is legacy, and what is achievement, and what it really looks like, and what is sacrifice, and what does that feel like. And we're going to talk about those things today. Now, we need your support. Recently, as of this month, we have launched our internet radio. It's We Believe Radio. It's plays 24 hours a day. When you go to our website on WeBelieveDigital.com, and you scroll down to the navigation bars, you will see We Believe Radio. You click on that and you enjoy the music that's being provided for you here with We Believe on 24 hours a day. We're expanding those programs, and we're joining a network of internet radio stations. We already have 25 in the network, and now we make 26 internet radio stations broadcasting all over the world. So here at We Believe Digital, let's think about it for a moment. We capture your videos and we do your podcasts, and we store those in a unique manner on the website. For example, if your pastor, your congregation, or your church wants to have their services broadcast live, we do that here through Vimeo, and we run that through all of our social media outlets, but we also capture it on WeBelieveDigital.com, our very own platform. But that's not where it gets interesting. Where it gets really interesting is that down in that, under that category, you'll have your own channel. That's right. You will have your own channel, like New Horizon Church has its own channel, where all of its shows are recorded and archived under that channel. Now that's uniquely different, because if you want to go in now and you want to see what was Bishop Crudup at New Horizon Church or Jason Goree at New Horizon Church talking about 6 weeks from today, you don't have to scroll through everybody trying to find that. You go to that particular channel and you will see all of their programs and their content housed there. Now that's unique in itself, but that's not all that we're doing. That's tremendously different. On Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, when I'm looking at my TV and I want to see what's going on and the pastor's preaching out there, then I have the opportunity to watch one pastor at 8 o'clock in the morning. Normally that's going to be Joel Osteen or somebody that has been able to buy that space, that 8 o'clock hour on NBC, shown right here in Jackson, Mississippi, will have a preacher on it. Now that's wonderful that they can afford that and that they have that presence. But we're uniquely different. At 8 o'clock on Sunday morning, where We Believe Digital, you can have 10 pastors live. Now hear me closely. I want you to get this. At WeBelieveDigital.com, you could have 10 services running live at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. All you have to do is go to WeBelieveDigital.com, click on the inspirational category, go down to the channels, and choose the one that you want to watch. You can toggle back and forth if you like. So that makes us uniquely different than most stations and most TVs. In America today, our youth, they want their entertainment and their news, and they want their religion at an hour that's convenient to them. So they don't want to get up at 8 o'clock and go to 8 o'clock service, and if you slept late, you can't go at all. Many of them now, and especially after COVID, many of them are watching the services when they feel like it. We're making it extremely convenient for them to do so. Also, we found that church memberships are currently growing, those that have been able to see their shows and their podcasts on our station. We find that those church membership is currently growing, and their online tithes are up. So you see, we here at We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio is making an impact in the marketplace, and We Believe Radio, internet radio, is making a difference in the audio side. And we have the ability to combine both of these. Sometimes we may have a video of an artist that is singing his song or being heard on the radio. Or that artist may come in and do a podcast and talk about his show, and then we play his music in between. We can control when we have music playing and when we have the podcast shows playing. And you can allow us to do that. Or if you go to the website and say, I just want to listen at the radio, and you click on it, you will just listen at the radio at your own convenience. And you can go back and toggle between the various categories of music that we offer. So it's very exciting what we're embarking upon here with this media company. And we're continually expanding it every day. And we're looking for new talent everywhere we can find it from India and Korea. It doesn't matter to us, because the world has been reduced to your living room. It's not like in the days when Dr. Henderson and I were coming along. The only news we got was somebody that died in our immediate family. If they were in another family 10 miles up the road, we may never have heard of that. But that's not the case anymore. Everything that happens is now communicated and broadcast live to those that want to hear. So we think We Believe Digital Radio and We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio will really make a tremendous difference on how things are done. We intend to be very vocal and very involved in this political season that we're in. You've always heard that these are the most important races than ever before. Every election cycle, you hear someone say that these are the most important races that we've ever had. And yet less than 20% of our people are actually going to the polls and voting. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that the candidates that are running don't have a presence in the community. The community has no way of interacting with them. The community has no way of even hearing or seeing what they look like. And so the community says, we'll just stay home and we won't get involved in the process. We Believe Digital is a worldwide platform. So yes, if you're a candidate and you're running for office in Northeast Mississippi, We Believe Digital is your best platform to get your message out. If you're a statewide candidate, you have no other place you need to go but other than We Believe Digital, because we're being seen all over the state of Mississippi. And so we offer some unique platforms and a unique portfolio that will allow you to be successful in what you're doing. If you're selling Cadillacs, people in Northeast Mississippi would like to see your commercials as well on WLBT. I don't think they're going to see that up in Tupelo. I think that in order to reach that market, you need to be on We Believe Digital. So we look forward to you embracing this concept and embracing this African-American business. Show your true colors and your true grit during African-American History Month. Say, I'm going to do some business with a new African-American-owned broadcast studio, and I'm going to support a new digital radio station that's owned and operated by African-Americans in Mississippi, in the poorest state in the nation. I'm going to reach down there, and I'm going to try and make a difference. Now, we look forward to hearing from you. You can call us at 800-492-5186. Again, that's 800-492-5186. You can email us at webelievedigitalplatforms.com. That's webelievedigitalplatforms.com. Let's stay in touch. Let's get together. Let's support one another. All of these things we need to be doing as a community, as a race, and as a nation. We need to be supporting the least of us as most that we can, because of the tremendous history that we have here in this country and in the USA, that we're not going to do reparations, and we get that. I'm not saying we agree with it. We're saying we get it. But at least you could say, let's support those fledgling businesses that are trying to make a difference in the community. Because when the African-American business community is successful, the community thrives. One of the things that's feeding this tremendous crime that we have out here today is there's no money moving in the African-American community. It's just absolutely not moving. And so many people are doing things to benefit their own communities and build their own wealth at the expense of those of us that are left in the hood, as you call it. You see, I'll refer back just recently. We had a $97 million scandal at the Department of Human Services in the state of Mississippi. Now, I learned just yesterday from a tweet from Anna Wolf, one of the reporters over Today's Mississippi, that only $4.5 million of a $100 million entitlement went to TANF recipients. That's only $4.5 million went to poor people that actually need it. So you have to ask yourself, where did the remaining $96 million go if it didn't go to TANF recipients? Now, you need to ask yourself that question, and then you need to ask all of your representatives, all of your elected officials, all of your department heads, all of your U.S. senators and congressmen. You need to ask everybody. You know, why is it that funds that are specifically designated for the least of us don't get to the least of us? And it happens in infrastructure bills, it happens in entitlement bills, and everything that goes on usurps the money from going where it needs to go. Now, in Mississippi, we are notorious for that, and we have to make a change. Now, I've been going on and on a bit about what we believe digital stands for. We believe digital radio being launched this week. And so it's time for us to get into the meat of our program. So as always, my co-host is Dr. Eldridge Henderson. Doctor, how have you been?
I'm doing fine, sir, and I've been well this week. I got up to 95% of wellness.
95%.
And I will work tomorrow, and I intend to get at least 99%.
99% of wellness.
That's right.
Doc, your dad's 90 what?
98.
98 years old.
Still working 2 part-time jobs. So I can't let him beat me, Mr. Secretary. I have to beat him.
Your dad's 98 years old working 2 part-time jobs.
That's correct.
Boy, a black man has to get it all his life.
He just will not surrender.
He will not surrender, will not succumb.
So I can't do less. I have to do more. And just today,
Tell me about
I
it.
put a plan together, a 10-year plan. I announced it today. I told you I talked to some people at a church, and I told them my age, and then say I had a 10-year plan started today, and they told me that I'm too old. You ought to go and retire. And I looked a little more healthy than 99% of them that were younger.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do this 10-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
I just finished last month a 15-year plan that I worked on, and I only have one thing left on that 15-year plan that I didn't finish, and we're going to do that in the next 2 months. And that's finish getting our book edited and get it published so we can have the real news in print
In print.
that we are going to share all over the world. Well, we intend to tell black people that they must control certain areas of activity from birth to death. And those areas are religion, leadership, politics, economic development. And if they don't do that starting tomorrow, they don't have but 7 years to make it happen, or they will be totally subject to the state of Mississippi, to the South, and the nation.
Now, Doc, this 10-year plan that you have indicates that there's a deadline looming.
Exactly.
Now, that deadline is either going to be good for us or it's going to be tremendously bad.
We decide. Our destiny has always been because we made certain choices in life. One going to have to start making the hard choice, Mr. Socrates. We are going to have to decide as a black group throughout the world that we will look at 3 things from now on: self, family, and community. We're going to build them by forming associations with churches and community organizations. We're going to make sure that we have land, stocks and bonds, grocery stores, banks, small and large businesses that are in the black community, financed and controlled by black people and not the federal government. We are telling people that if you look at history, you'll find that if you want something messed up, you let the federal government or the state government get involved. They will screw you every time, give you little or nothing that's legally yours. They can take it from you. And the black people that's in power, they're supposed to supervise them, won't even file charges against them. But if your son or my cousin would go downtown, rob a store, get $5 out of the dollar store with a weapon in his hand, he'll get 30 or 40 years and have a trial within 30 days. And others can get 30 to 40 million and won't even get indicted. And if they get indicted, you don't hear nothing about a trial. And you don't see any demand for that money to be returned. But you let the poor black man or the poor black woman steal $10,000. They give them 5 years. And if they talk, They'll cut off 3 of those years, but still they're going to have a restitution payment of $30,000, $40,000, $50,000.
Wow.
That's the history. That's the fact. And that's why I want to say, I applaud you for putting your own communication facility together. You know that black people worldwide got to make the news, report the news, and record the news. Because if we continue to allow the human enemies of mankind to do it, they're going to make the news, report the news, and exclude us. And we won't have any news, and people will think we've just been in this world since ancient time, being savages and running around causing trouble.
Now, Doc, you're taking me back too far now. I'm going to get a little back into history. Now, in Mississippi, we had the federal government had to intervene to escort James Meredith into the University of Mississippi. Do you know James Meredith?
I know it well. I've interviewed him on my show on several occasions.
What kind of man is he?
He is a strong man. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't know it, he is a genius. The other fact that most people don't know, he is one of the bravest men in America. He is one of the most focused individuals. And if you look at his pictures when he was at Ole Miss, you would see him walking with all that protection, halfway smiling, acting serious, going to class, dressed well, and passing with all that turmoil. People threatening to kill him. Classmates in class with him don't want to sit next to him, sneering at him, saying, we're going to do something to you. He was living on campus. They put him in a wing in a dormitory by himself with his handlers. And this man graduated.
They put him in the dorm by himself.
That's right. He had a wing by himself. Then none of the other so-called good Christian Bible-toting white kids wanted to be in his wing because they didn't want him there. They say this man does not deserve to attend Ole Miss University. This is the Mrs. University for our folks, for Miss Ann's people, for the plantation owners' white children, not their black children. They went to other places. That's what he endured, and he opened the door for many others. And that's why he's the bravest, the smartest man I know that's alive today.
We're getting ready to go to a station break, and we're going to come back and continue to talk about James Meredith and others that have made tremendous contributions to the African American movement. And we're going to talk about those that were actually impeding progress, those who had decided that they would rather work for the opposition, to identify the strategies and talk to them about what blacks were planning on doing. All of this is part of our history. And so we have some difficult discussions that we got to have to put all of this information out on the table. We're getting ready to go to a station break. You stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Wedding, milestone anniversary, or corporate event, 5-Star Lodge is the rustic elegance you need for your event space. With hardwood and stunning chandeliers, this is just the beginning of the 5-star treatment. Our on-site venue manager will ensure all details exceed your expectations. We offer a luxurious bridal lounge, beautiful reception hall, cabins, and an outdoor pavilion on the water. Visit 5stareventlodge.com to get started.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here from Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. In Mississippi, my home state. You know, in Mississippi, where we have a notorious history of how we've treated others than Europeans. You know, my relatives, the Native Americans, I don't get to see many of them anymore. They've been pretty much moved out, marched out to Oklahoma. I can go up to Philadelphia, Mississippi, and walk around on the reservation on some weekends, and I can see a few. But as a boy, I remember we would play baseball against the Choctaws on the 4th of July. I couldn't play with them because Mom made us go chop cotton down in the bottom on the 4th of July, and she wanted us to do that right beside the road so that everybody could see us, so that it made no mistake about it, that we were not celebrating the 4th of July, and we were not into that holiday. We were into working. But I knew the Choctaws were playing, and when we got an opportunity to slip away, or if it rained on the 4th, we'd have an opportunity to go down there and watch them play a little bit. And they could play baseball real good. You know, we've always said that the Native American had a bad rap, that he just couldn't handle whiskey. And so, you know, we would cut up a little bit after everybody started drinking that moonshine. And you would have a lot of fun. I remember all that as a boy. It's unfortunate that today we don't have any Native Americans in our government. We don't have any Native Americans that are in a leadership roles in any of our school districts. We don't have any Native Americans that are pastoring congregations in the state of Mississippi that I'm aware of. And so Mississippi has a bad history. And so my co-host, Dr. Eldridge Henderson, has said that he does not blame the government for banning critical race theory in Mississippi. Now, Doc, why is it that you don't blame them for banning it?
Well, it is very clear that it's serious history. It's negative history. It's murderous history. It's denial history. It is contagious history that says anything the Europeans touch got to be owned 100% by me, and anything that you have has to be taken from you. That's critical race theory. That is in the history books. That's in their Constitution. And it's so bad, so serious, so negative, so murderous, until they don't want their children to hear it. I used to teach that critical race theory. And if I had a white audience, if I would teach them for 2 hours on the history of critical race theory and talk about systemic racism, institutional racism, and all the governments, local, state, and federal, that deny black people their citizenship and their humanity, many will leave and have to go to a psychiatrist to keep from committing suicide when you tell the real news about that history. I don't blame Caucasians for not teaching that. I wanted it to be taught to their children because their children will be sick. Because when you start teaching history of Mississippi, of the South, and of America, there are names associated with that. Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, Governor Barnett, many, many others that we could name. And if you read what they said about them when they recorded their speeches, you would think they were talking about demons that were here during that ancient time and they left the world 10,000 years ago. They're talking about my relatives, your relatives. And during this period, those people they were talking about couldn't even register to vote. And if you tried to do so, you were killed, hanged, beat, put dogs on you, on and on and on. And if you did it the second time, and you were exposed as a leader from some of the Uncle Toms, you disappeared. You were found in the Big Black River. You were found dead. You committed suicide out in the forest by yourself. That's what the sheriff would say. It is so bad, I get mad when I start talking about it, so I see why they don't want it. And if I were a legislature, I wouldn't vote for it myself if I had that bad news to be shared with my children.
Wow. Doc, African Americans come through a lot. We've come to a point, we've come through all of the importation of slaves into this country where millions and millions of slaves died on those ships that were coming into Virginia. We've come through a lot of that. We fought our way through all of that slave period, and then when the slaves were supposedly freed, at least in Texas, they got the word a little bit later than everybody else. But we then came through the Civil War, where over 700,000 people gave their lives. Is slavery so serious that 700,000 Europeans would give their lives to try and maintain it? Is it that important entity, slavery, that you would have a million people give their lives to try to maintain that way of living? Was it that serious?
Of course. If I had slaves that was working for me 24 hours a day, that I called animals, and could treat them any way I wanted to, and I didn't have to work, I didn't pay them, I made money off them from birth to death, sold them when they got old and sick or become rebellious. After I beat them half to death, I would fight to keep it myself.
So then we understand the underpinnings of why so little progress has been made from that time. Reconstruction, for example, we thought right after the Civil War, during the period of Reconstruction, that we had a brief reprieve.
Well, we did, and you said the right word, brief. It was brief. 7, 8 years of so-called Reconstruction, and the government said, we're not going to waste any more time on these Negroes in the South because they made a deal with the white folks, the white Southerners, that we're going to give you two things. We're going to give you reparations for the plantations we took from you, and we're going to pay you for the slaves that you had, and we're going to give them back to you and leave town. We're going to leave town, you do whatever you want. And that happened from roughly starting around 1878, Reconstruction really was from about 1868 to 1877. After that period, the South organized to the point where before the end of the century, they had all the legislatures white again, and the few blacks that were pretending to be involved in politics, they either were run out of town or ended up in the Black River somewhere after they were beat, raped, burned, put dogs on them, and hunted them down in the forest, in the woods, like they were wild bears. That is history. Those are facts.
That is history, and I suspect that it applies to Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia.
All of them. All the southern states. And the northern states, when they had their so-called black problems, after they put them in those little tight ghettos, when they would try to get out, they would do them the same way.
So now we had this little Reconstruction period, and then it ended, and the trick that you just articulated by the Northerners and the federal government, which gave reparations to white Europeans, slave owners, and landowners by giving them more land, and then gave them the complete authority to re-enslave black people.
That's right, but they were smart enough to call it something else. They didn't call it slavery. It was quasi-slavery, where you had to get on plantations and work. You didn't have to sign a contract. It was verbal. John, you can come back and live with me. I give you 10 or 15 acres to work, and I'm going to take care of you. I give you food, clothing, shelter, money, animals, and anything you need. You just be a good boy, and you don't have anything to worry about. I'll take care of your education even.
And so you introduced the term sharecropping.
That's right, exactly right.
That's where that came from.
That's where it came from. And then they say we're going to maintain this system. We're not going to have another civil war. We're going to have our own police to maintain these plantations, just like they did during slavery. And you're not going to leave. And if you try to leave, we're going to capture you and give you a real job in a mine, in another plantation, put you in prison, take your family, and you're going to be subservient to us, or you're going to die. That happened to some of my relatives.
Now, we come through that period, as bad as that was, and then we got into something called integration.
The worst thing ever happened to black people in the history of the world. Integration.
I can't let you just say that. I mean, integration was that bad?
It was worse than that. I can't say how bad it was in public discourse.
Doc, we thought that integration was the new savior.
See what you said? You say we thought. There was a plan that was put together because black people were getting ready to become independent. So the human enemies of mankind had to devise a plan to give black people what I call that silver tit for them to suck on, while they planned a 30 or 40 year decision. They had decisions to make, 30 or 40 years. So we're going to give them enough silver tit, a little fair housing, a little civil rights, a little integrated education. We'll put a few on the police force, few in the highway patrol, and give a few government jobs. Because they had eliminated blacks from all of that up until World War II. And they say, we got some plan for them. They passed all that legislation and violated every law they passed in free housing, politics, education, infrastructure needs in your so-called black communities, political positions, had black figureheads there that was always in love with the people that put them in office. We called them during my time Uncle Toms. They were totally ineffective and many of their sons and daughters and cousins are in politics today.
Now, Doc, integration was something that we as a people didn't understand the ramifications of what it was going to bring about and how it was going to tear down the families and the black institution. We didn't see that coming.
We didn't want to see it. Now, black people have always been smarter than most people thought. We knew it. We knew it was bad. But any time you've been told that you are always going to be at the bottom of the barrel, that you're ignorant, you're stupid, you can't even be educated, and even if you are educated, you can't make a decision that's going to be appropriate for yourself and your people. But if you do like I tell you, I will give you an opportunity to become independent. But you got to work for me. You have to attend my school, attend my church. I'll give you a job in one of my Fortune 500 companies, but you got to be like me.
And so we took on the characteristics, the mannerism, and the religion.
That's right.
And we began to implement the very policies that were designed to keep us an underclass.
And we did it better than they did. We decided we are going to do everything we can to look and act like our oppressors. We want to look like them. We wanted to talk like them, live with them. And they said, that can't happen. So if more than two of you all come in my community, you got to go or we got to go.
So now let's go back for a minute here. So integration was the worst thing that happened to Americans according to some scholars. And you articulated something along those lines.
But let me interrupt you and tell you why.
Right.
If you look at the history of black people, up until 1964, black people in America had more land, more money. Of course, they had less education, but they were smarter. They were entrepreneurs. They had excellent leadership skills because they were excluded from the so-called white institutions like real estate, hospitals, banks. They couldn't get loans there, couldn't go to the hospital. I had to be born at home. I couldn't go to a hospital, and I'm still alive when I was born. They had to call a lady down the road to come and get me in this world. And my dad was so shocked, and I told this story before, the lady increased the price for $2 and told Dad I think he had to pay $5 or $7 to get me here. And he almost had a heart attack because I think he was thinking it was going to still be $3 or $4, which he didn't have at the time. But they worked out a deal.
They worked out a deal. Now, Doc, integration was bad. What about religion? I've heard lots of views on the impact of religion in the African American community. What are your thoughts on the impact that it has had in the development or in the keeping the African American race down?
That is the second worst thing ever happened to black folks. You know, when you don't have an economy, when you don't have a language, when you don't have a culture, when you don't have a religion, and you are taught something totally new, you can get taught anything that they want to teach you. And that's exactly what they did with blacks, when it turned out that they had to get them a new man-made religion. They excluded Christian principles. They excluded individual independence. They excluded making compacts with your people. Basically, that old no good Christian religion that was taught those black preachers by the white preachers. Love your enemy. Forgive your enemy. Turn the other cheek. Do what I tell you. And when you die, you'll get your reward. I've seen some of the old tracts that they used to teach those black preachers. And even today, a lot of black people believe no matter what happens, all you got to do is pray and the Lord will protect you. And they usually live in hell on earth and they're doing something for themselves. That's when the Lord will bless you.
We're getting ready to go to a station break. You know, these conversations are difficult, but these conversations must be had. A good friend of mine, Howard Ketchen, says it's hard out here on the colored. Then you die. Get ready for the fire. You're listening and watching WeBelieveDigital.com on Socrates Garrett Live. We'll be right back after these few words from our sponsor. Stay tuned.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here from Jackson, Mississippi in the We Believe broadcast studio. Now, we've been seen all over the world in over 139 countries. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Roku TV, and on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. This week, we announced the launching of the We Believe Internet radio station. It's going to bring you music, the kind of music that you want to hear, that emanates from down south. All of you out there in Seattle and Portland, Oregon, you blacks that are trapped out there that don't see many black people during the day, you'll get an opportunity to tie back into your heritage. You know you from Fayette, Mississippi, and you know what you used to do on Saturdays, and you love the blues. Well, you're going to be able to hear the blues here at We Believe Radio. You'll also see exciting shows like this one at We Believe Podcast Studios. And so we need you to support us. If you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to share the program with your friends and family and send us some stars. That's tremendously important. If you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to go ahead and subscribe. If you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, hit the donate button. You can call in at 800-492-5186. You can email us at WeBelieveDigitalPlatforms@gmail.com. So there's no excuse. You can get in touch with us in any way that you choose. You can support this program financially, and you can support it by calling in, and you can support it by having your own podcast studio presentation. This space is for rent. It's only $100 for a 30-minute show on WeBelieveDigital.com podcast studio. It's $150 for a 1-hour show. You can't beat that anywhere in the world. And so we want that studio scheduler to be lined up so filled that we got to run 24 hours a day with all of the shows that are trying to get in. If you're a pastor and you got your congregation out there, we have something very special for you. You know, you can come on We Believe Digital platform and have all of your broadcasts live from Sunday morning or Wednesday night or whatever program that you like. And not only will it show on our We Believe Digital platform, but it'll also show on your very own channel. That's right. Your church can have a channel all of its own, where all of your parishioners can go back home on Sunday evening and take a look at the program that they saw at 8 o'clock, but this time they can fast forward, scan through it, and look at the things that really move them, the things that really touch their heart that Sunday. You know, there's something that the pastor said that was critically important, and I have to have the ability to recapture that moment. Well, you can do that with WeBelieveDigital.com. Now, we're unique in design because we can have 50 churches live at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning on the same platform. That's right, you heard me. We can have 50 programs live at 8 o'clock on We Believe Digital platform. Now, many of you that are watching these shows on TV on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, you get to see Joel Osteen. Well, you don't get to see T.D. Jakes at 8 o'clock because they only can show one show at a time. So you can bet that the cable industry and the tower industry are hurting. Americans and others all across the world have began to get their information via streaming. We are the premier African American streaming platform in the South. Let me say that again. We are the premier African American streaming platform in the South. And we know that you will be coming to us for your news, your weather, your sports, your entertainment, all of those things. Our platform is currently designed into 8 basic categories where we talk about those things that are alike, those things that are related videos in a category. Sports is a category. Entertainment is a category. Inspiration is a category. Lifestyle is a category. And so all of the shows that are related in those categories will be housed underneath there on our platform. Uniquely different. And any individual that wants their own channel in any category can have that. It's absolutely up to you how you want to present yourself to the rest of the world. So we're very, very excited about the things that are going on here at We Believe Digital. We think we are on the starting blocks of a tremendous journey. We think that we've had success, that we've overcome a lot of obstacles in our way. We are dealing with a industry that's new in its own. And so there are some things we got to work out. So bear with us, but do more than bear with us. Support us, help us. How can you help us? Naturally, as always, you can do the things that I talked about. But we'd love to have you in the studio. We'd love for you to have your own show. 30-minute show is only $100. For a 1-hour show, it's $150. Now, you can remote into the studio, and I will host your show, or someone else will host your show, and you can get your message and your points across that way. The ability for us to remote you in with the highest quality exists currently today. And so we'd love to have you support this concept and this broadcast network in that way. Now, all of you advertisers out there, you know that advertising spots can be tremendously important if you're trying to advertise on WLBT or WJT-TV or any other TV station. You know that it's tremendously expensive. Here at We Believe Digital's, our spots for a 30-second spot is as low as $15 per spot. $15 per spot. Now, you know you can't beat that. A package of 40 spots, I believe, runs about $400. And so 40 spots, $400 during the entire month. You just can't really beat that. Now, what's the difference in that? If you do that on cable TV, and you say, I'm going to put my ad on cable TV, and it's going to run at 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. in the morning, nobody's watching it. And you can't have the ability to retrieve it. So you don't see it. It's out there. Only the animals are awake at that time. And so, but We Believe Digital, you will be able to see that ad run during prime time all week long, all month long. So we're looking forward to your patronage. We want all our pastors to have their show here and have their own channel on our platform. We expect to have that. We're looking forward to the many wonderful things that we're going to be able to bring you. Now, We Believe Radio, will carry music 24 hours a day, only interrupted by your commercial. Your commercials, the same spot that you paid for, that $15 spot that's running on We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio, will also run on the internet radio. We're in a network of some 26 internet radio stations currently. So your word is getting out there. Your brand and your products are being offered. Our marketplace on our website will show you all of the things that we're selling. We will be able to sell cars. I want to talk to my friends at the Honda dealership over at Patty Peck. We want to be able to sell cars. We want to be able to sell books. We want to be able to sell choir robes. We want to sell things that our community needs. As a boy, our community was self-sufficient. Whatever we needed, we found in our own community. And we kept our dollars at home, and we made our dollars have some sense. We've lost that. We've lost that now. If you were watching the earlier segment, the integration, as articulated by my co-host, Dr. Henderson, was one of the worst things that ever happened to us. Because, as he said, it broke down, it tore down our economic infrastructure. He said that we had more land then than we have now. We had more stores then than we have now. All of that is because our dollars migrated out of our community into European communities. And so we got to stop doing that. And the first way you stop doing that is start supporting this broadcast station. Again, it's a powerful mechanism to get your word out. If you're running for elected office in New York City, then our analytics show that we have tremendous viewerships from New York City. That's right. And we will tailor programs specific to your race at New York City. There's a thing called geofencing, where we target a specific area with advertising. We do that regardless of where it is in the world. If we want to target New York City with a promotional program, we do that. If we want to have you come in by remotely to our broadcast studio and we push that program back into certain zip codes inside of New York City, we do that. we have the ability to make this thing work in a way, in a manner that we have not seen before, especially from African Americans. Now, there are others that are peddling African American news, and we get that. Black people, while we're less than 10% of the population in America, we take up 90% of the media time. If media weren't talking about black people, they wouldn't have a show at all. So 10% of the population gets 90% of the media coverage. We get that. But non-blacks are presenting the coverage. So we got this national information network, hallelujah, 99.5 or whatever they call. And so they want to have a black information network where they tell black news all day. That's fine. But black people ought to be telling black news all day, not white folk. We just can't let that happen. You know, when we look at the Root magazine, it's a tremendous magazine, but who owns it? White folk. And so white folks present black folk in a way they want them to be seen. We have to go back to the black faces, to the days in the early media, how blacks were portrayed. We're no longer in black faces now, but we're paraded across the screen as criminals and murderers and rapists and lazy and shiftless. The governor of the state of Mississippi said just here this week that Jackson, Mississippi is the murder capital of the world. It may be. But as governor of the state of Mississippi, how are you going to go out and say that about your capital city? How are you going to say that to the rest of the world when it's your job to provide resources and consulting with the leadership in the city to try and solve the problem? And so, we just got a bad situation that we got to deal with. The solutions lies in the media, in the communication, and who's telling the story. I'm somewhat concerned about King James having written the Bible. I'm not exactly sure who King James was. And so, we got to go back now and dissect things and take a look at it and get the history corrected so that our children will stop running around lost without leadership, acting out. And so let me turn to the distinguished gentleman on my left, a man born on a plantation, has risen to heights beyond anyone's expectation the day he was born up in the Mississippi Delta. No one expected him to become Dr. Eldridge Henderson. But here he is today, a man amongst men. Dr. Henderson.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to talk about a little bit about King James.
King James.
Who was King James, and where did he come from, and what race was he, and who was King James?
Well, now, I'm not going to tell you other than what the history books said.
Okay.
He was a European king that had trouble with the Pope and some of his opponents. And he decided that he wanted to have his own Bible and his own religion. And he did just like anyone else would do. They want to break away from the system. He found some of the best interpreters, some of the best writers. Back in those days, they were called scribes and so forth. Intellectuals. He pulled them together and say, I want you to get this Bible, and we're going to change it. But they didn't use that word. They call it revised, which means the same thing. And I want you to put it this way. They got that team together. They would consult with each other, and they said, no, you need to change this word. They edited out certain words. They paraphrased it to the point until, if you look at the documents that they got the paraphrase from, it's totally different. Now they call that the King James Revised Version of the Bible. They used a lot of documents that they found in caves and other literature. Had thousands of documents, and his boys got together and selected the documents they wanted to share and say they were the documents that was God approved. by this God that they came up with. And they put it together and called it the Old and New Testament, a revised version of the so-called truth. And now most black folks in the world look at that Bible as their salvation piece, the King James political version. So he is the criminal here.
Now, certainly, if you were writing the Bible, how would you have written it?
The same way. If I had a problem with authority, I would want to put a document together that I can control, force or pay people to write it for me, and then force or pay people to accept it and practice my philosophy. I would do the same thing.
So all of the benefits of the Bible would enter back to the king.
Exactly. And his supporters, even to today. The Bible was designed to promote economics for the people that put it together, politics, and social control, and have a bunch of others, usually 80 or 90%, that's subservient to the Bible and to those revised versions, and you are supposed to do what I told you the Lord will accept, and that is to honor me. Listen to me. Be like me. Don't worry about what I do to you. You will get your reward later on, Mr. Socrates. And a lot of your folks believe that propaganda today.
Well, I won't call it propaganda. I will call it the biblical teachings of King James.
That's better. See, you're a smart man. You make it sound where people say that's more acceptable than propaganda, which is good. That's why I like to work with you, sir.
Now, Doc,
Yes, sir.
Integration, religious control, integration, first of all, you have to get control of a man's mind.
Got to do that first.
You got to get control of his mind. And they got control of his mind during slavery.
That's right. Through that religion, that fake religion that they were teaching, called Christianity, from the new version, the man-made version.
Right, right. And so you got control of his mind. You brought him in here, you got control of his mind, you beat him down, and you gave him a new religion that made him honor you. And then you were able today, even after you go through the freeing of the slave, you still have effective control over his mind.
That's exactly right. Because he doesn't know anything other than what you taught him.
Because he has no homeland, he has no history
that he knows.
That he knows about.
Right.
And so you still have control over his mind, therefore he will act the way you want him to act.
And let me tell you the bad part about it, Mr. Socrates. The black folks have been brainwashed so they were told that we are your protector. Say, your folks in Africa don't care nothing about you. They never sent anybody to get you. They never did try to get you back. And I know why they didn't, because a lot of those Africans caught these different tribes in their territories, put them in these camps, and sold them to the Europeans and others because they had a different slave system. I don't think they knew exactly what was going to happen to them, but they got those bad boys that were wandering in their territory, just like the United States now, messing around with China, shooting balloons down and so forth. They say, we're going to get rid of these intruders. The white man say, I'll take them.
Now, Doc, I heard that there was some Africans that sold some Africans. I got that, and I guarantee you that if we had an opportunity to ship a few of these around here out today, we'd probably march them down to the boat and say, you can have these, not knowing exactly where they're going and how they were going to ultimately be treated. Then my conscience wouldn't bother me. And so I get that some of that might have happened. But overall speaking, the African has been treated worse than any group in the world. And there are some reasons for that we're going to have to get into on our next program.
We're going to have to do that.
There are some reasons for this. and we're going to have to put that in place. But we are out of time. The time goes by so fast. I hope that you've enjoyed the program. We want you to watch WeBelieveDigital.com. We want you to watch us as we stream all over the world. We want you to listen to We Believe Digital Radio as we bring you the kind of music that's easy to listen to and with very few commercials. Yeah, we'll have a few because we need to monetize this concept. But it's been a great evening. I want to give my co-host, the distinguished Dr. Eldridge Henderson, a chance to give his last remarks, and we'll do that now.
Thank you, Mr. Socrates. I want you to remember something. You know a man named Christopher Young. He says a whole lot of talking is going on. And then you also have in a printed document where a leader is preparing leaders for today and tomorrow that didn't even say when he's going to step down so he can put some of these new leaders in office. So there's a lot of talking going on by people that's going to maintain the status quo, politicians, preachers, and corporate leaders. And if you don't train your own leaders without input from the current leaders, you will maintain a system of slavery, economic slavery, political slavery, social slavery, religious slavery. It's on and on.
Dr. Henderson, my co-host, is always on point, and we'll be back next week to continue these discussions. I want y'all to stay safe out there and have a good night. Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global with shows like this to bring our